Hello, everybody. Welcome to That's Football. I'm Mark Goldbridge, joined by Loz, and we're here to talk about the latest football news. And I'm going to say from the off, the Premier League is self-opinionated, overhyped, and quite often boring. And PSG have absolutely exposed that.
Wow.
I think the Premier League has got an identity crisis. I think the quality of refereeing is appalling. I think the style of football is mundane. And I think the evolution that should have come from the Premier League laws is actually coming from Spain and France. And shame on you, Premier League, and you Pep Guardiola obsessives in the media. You have caused all this.
What is it that you specifically think is coming from somewhere else that we don't have? Are you talking paella? Are you talking, stepovers?
Garlic bread.
Garlic bread. You love garlic bread, yeah.
No, I mean, look, the food may well be better at these European stadiums, but it's something that on this That's Football community, we are live a lot. We talk about matches a lot. And I've basically said that this playing out from the back, system-led, structure, passing lane football that has dominated the Premier League for many years now and is now infiltrated even National League teams and League One teams playing out from the back. We see it in the Cup. It's a monopoly. It's a dictatorship. And Pep Guardiola didn't, wander into the Premier League and say, everybody's going to play the way of football I want. But everybody did copy it. And what you're seeing is the antidote is that football doesn't need to be like that. You can take people on, you can commit, you can hit a 50-yard ball, you can throw the ball as a goalkeeper to the halfway line. We've seen Alisson do it in the past.
Ederson did it.
Exactly. And I think what we saw last night was, look, Aston Villa are not the representatives of the Premier League at the best.
They're seventh.
But they were absolutely destroyed by a PSG side that play progressive, attacking, risk-taking football, take people on, shoot from distance. And we don't see enough of that in the Premier League. 20 years ago, we did. We're not seeing that. And the Premier League is the best league in the world. And it's the most watched league.
You just said it was overhyped. Which one is it?
Which one is it? But it's complacent. It's the guy who's in front or the girl who is, I'm the best and everyone will watch anyway. And this is what I mean about shame on you. Nobody is, everyone's going, oh, let's just copy what Pep does. Let's just play the same way. And I think if I was a Premier League manager, I'd be looking at what Luis Enrique is doing at PSG and going, this is clear. They've already beaten Man City this season. They've knocked Liverpool out. They were brilliant against Liverpool in the first leg. They did the same against Villa. Their style of football is working. And also, more importantly, Loz, it's what people want to watch. And the Premier League needs to sit up and take notice because I want PSG to win the Champions League. What's going on?
So I want two teams to win the Champions League. Obviously, you can't want Arsenal to win the Champions League, but I think Arsenal are there or thereabouts. And I think they're kind of primed for like when Rafa Benitez won it, when a weird new manager comes in and they just do something and the season doesn't seem to go right, but you get a Champions League and it just comes out of nowhere. That, I think, is what Arsenal are now primed for. And then I've got to be honest, I do want PSG to win it because I do think they play really attractive football. The only other aspect that I think, could someone play that in the Premier League? Week in, week out, that intensity, that level, I'm not sure they could. And I think part of the reason that PSG can afford to play that football is because of the strength of their league. The same doesn't go for Real Madrid. Obviously, they didn't play great football against Arsenal. But when they do play, I still think, are you really being challenged? Are you really being pushed every week by Real Valladolid? Do you know what I mean?
No, I do. I completely agree. And funnily enough, there was a question yesterday during the PSG Villa watch along about and it's one for the comments, if you parachuted Real Madrid, Barcelona and PSG into the Premier League, where would they finish?
Where did you say? Yeah.
I put Barcelona and Real Madrid in the top four with Arsenal and Liverpool, but I didn't put PSG in there because of exactly what you said. Would they be There's a second part to the question, but right here, now, parachuting them in, intensity, you're right. They're not used to playing Fulham away, Newcastle away. To be honest, they're playing, I don't know, Rennes.
It's always Rennes, isn't it? It's always Rennes.
Yeah. So I think, but to answer your question about whether that style of football would work in the Premier League, I'd like to see an evolution of it. We're not even seeing an evolution of it. Maybe
the style wouldn't work, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, you could train the intensity, or you could do that for periods of the game and then be a little bit more pragmatic. I think everybody is playing a very similar game of chess at
Well,
the
do you
moment.
think when you said the Premier League is arrogant, I'm not so sure it's actually the clubs in the Premier League that are arrogant. I think it's the actual organization of the Premier League, like the people at the top. Not that I know them, but the way that I see their approach comes across quite arrogant. And I think the problem with the Premier League is almost the stakes are so high now. The stakes are so high that you almost have to play risk averse football and reduce that. And managers aren't necessarily able to publicly say, well, I've been told, play risk averse football, try and get wins rather than entertaining the fans and do X, Y, Z. And it's kind of driving the Premier League into a bit of a, well, is the season entertaining sort of thing?
Well, it's like, if you look at the weekend, Arsenal, Brentford, I think is the TV game at 5:30. And
Sure.
I can hear it in my mind now, Brentford against Arsenal in London. Two London teams playing each other. Brentford have had a good season, haven't they? With Thomas Frank, and Arsenal, look what they did in Europe. They beat Real Madrid. So are they the best team in the world? And it's live. It's like hype. Actually, will it be a very good game? No, because Arsenal have got their eyes on the Bernabeu. Brentford have probably run out of steam now in relation to, exceeding expectations and getting into Europe.
12.
But actually, if you had good football to fall back on, it wouldn't actually matter that much. And I think,
do you not think it was entertaining? Maybe Arsenal's I don't think Arsenal's a bad example, but I've got to admit, with Saka back in the team, with Martinelli coming back, I'm not bored. Do you know? Like, I'm not.
No, they are. That was a good game.
Yeah, I don't. No, I think you're right, though. I do think a majority of Arteta's football can be quite risk averse. So I think broadly,
he wouldn't do it
right.
against Man City, though, would he?
Well, he hasn't done it against Man City. It doesn't mean he wouldn't do it against Man City, or it doesn't mean that if you pick the right moment. I think again, it's kind of, when does PSG ever play a Man City in their own league? And I know obviously Onana is getting in trouble. I don't want Nemanja Matic to come at me. That's the last thing I would.
You say Lyon a bad team. You're saying Lyon's a bad team.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. They're a team who are in hard times, should we say, right now, but then they're playing a team that are also in hard times. So maybe you two are well suited. Maybe this pathetic little back and forth, which was really just a journalist quoting a goalkeeper and then taking it into a press conference and trying to get a rise out of a player that he knows can see the red mist sometimes and sometimes say some things because he used to represent that club and feels therefore qualified and in some ways able to say that he's the worst goalkeeper to have played for Manchester United in the modern age, which seems harsh.
Mate, I know that the way Premier League clubs work, and they will be shut down, locked down now because of that, and it just makes me laugh because I'm sort of like, actually, I like the Vieira Keane incidents. I like the Tuchel and Conte handshake, and they. I mean, again, this is another thing with the Premier League. They're diluting their product on arrogance that people will still watch, and maybe they're true. But I mean, I would love if Man United would play Newcastle on Sunday. Well, not Man United. We've done them. I would love it if it was Brentford Arsenal on Saturday, and Mbeumo goes, I actually think I'd score more goals than Saka. I think I'm a better player. And then Saka goes, yeah, okay, well, maybe take a look, read my Wikipedia page, and then we'll talk. But you'll probably fall asleep when you're reading it because there's so much on there.
It'll be more interesting than the game.
Yeah. But I like a little bit of. It's an entertainment sport. We're not politicians.
Do you think? I mean, I remember when you first came into the YouTube industry, you were a little bit punchy, weren't you? Not physically,
exactly.
You got a little bit punchy, and you had a few pops at a couple of other people. Some people knew how to take it. Some people not so well. But it's just part of the game, isn't it? Like, some people, I'm not saying that's a good tactic now. I think YouTube now probably doesn't reward that kind of thing. But back then, it was
Rio Ferdinand's such a scripted, boring, I want to be a YouTuber prat, isn't he? I mean, that's the sort of thing. That's the sort of thing you want me to say, isn't it?
That's what I was looking for. That, that
Rio will take that seriously now. He'll be like,
you're not really saying that, and I think again, it's just a character, guys. Mark's not a real person. He's actually just an AI-generated person. Yeah, it will be very soon. Why would you bother? Do you know what I mean? Why would you even bother? By the way, how long would you do that for if no one had noticed?
What?
The AI thing. If you could get away with it, would you just type this in, make Mark angry about
nothing? That's basically what I do every morning.
Yeah, sure.
Slap myself before I go live at 10 o'clock. How do I get angry about absolutely nothing?
Right, okay.
Get rid of the puppy. He's too cute.
Right, okay,
Just don't give me my favourite breakfast.
What is your favourite breakfast?
If I could eat it, yeah, that's a good question. If I could eat my favorite breakfast, it would probably be crunchy nut cornflakes, which I haven't had in years. Because
Wow.
I always
Why
go
not?
2
Because
bowls.
you probably did one of those online test things. You found out what you can and you can't eat.
Yeah, I can't.
It said don't eat crunchy nut, and you went, okay, online test that doesn't really
Yeah.
know me, but you feel
Yeah.
10 times better.
Yeah. But look, you know what? Is that not what the Premier League's doing? It's not feeding the public what it wants. It's feeding it what it thinks is good for
Good.
them and good for us, and it's not
Very
true.
good. Yeah,
And
I like that.
but look, very very simply, we have spoken about this, and I want to talk about a couple other bits. But I do and have said for a long time, I'm not jumping on the bandwagon like Gary Neville did after the Manchester derby, saying the Premier League's boring.
Take
I
that,
have
Gary.
said for a long time, I don't think it is boring. I think, Arsenal played really well the other night. There are occasionally good games. I thought Forest Villa last week was really open, really good game. But it's stylistically, and even Amrin was talking about this week, it's really hard because everybody analyzes everybody so much. And I'm like, get rid of the rule book, freestyle it,
Throw it out. Yeah,
get the
2
ball,
balls.
get the ball to Dembele, tell him to take
Right.
people on. I think Morgan Rogers is not the best footballer in
But that was
in
a great
England.
goal.
But when he gets the ball and takes people on, he becomes one of the most exciting players. There are better people who can do that than Morgan Rogers. Look at Jack Grealish. You've got to let them do it. And that's where it's a shame. That's where Pep Guardiola and other managers do have to take blame, because
Agreed.
for their own selfish ego of winning trophies, which is fine, they've literally sterilized football.
Klopp did do a very good job for a while of opening that up. I thought Klopp was very,
Rock and roll football.
Go on, you go for us, we'll go for you. I thought that was very good. He did reduce that towards the end. I think he kind of almost got told again, probably by the club, look, qualify for Champions League, do this, do that. And that, I think it's the business of football that's killing it more than anything. Like, everyone's really excited about the Club World Cup, Oh my goodness, what's going to happen at the Club World Cup when there's 9 nil nils in a row?
To say this?
No, I'm just saying, like, everyone, I was being hello.
You never know, though. You never know. You might have a brand deal.
No, the thing is, Mark, and I can't stress this enough, everyone is really excited about the Club World Cup. And if you're not excited,
I haven't had the check yet.
A loser. Oh, right, okay. And if you're not excited, then, you should be, because it's going to be a bunch of teams who are basically in pre-season, and they're going to play their way to a bunch of 0-0s while the players aren't really at full fitness. What a tournament, guys.
A PSG in that tournament. Yeah.
It was invite only. So there were a lot of clubs in there. So I'm going to Club World Cup teams.
Barcelona, Liverpool, Arsenal aren't in it. I mean, and for me, that just completely and utterly destroys it. So.
Well, the cool thing is, Mark, PSG in it. Yes, PSG are in it. Inter Milan, Juventus. What's the one that Ronaldo plays for? The one that
he's not in it. It's not his.
Oh, it's not his. It's another one.
Salzburg. Don't forget RB Salzburg. Absolute giants. We've done that. We've done watch on them. Do you think
Sorry, yeah, they're good.
What do you think about the argument that the Premier League is the best league in the world, but it's not offering up the best football, and also it's not consistently winning the Champions League? So why is it the best league in the world? Because I've got a theory on why that is, but what's your theory?
Well, teams can be built for different things. So I think you can build a team to win the Premier League, or you can build a team to win the Champions League and possibly like a more continental league. I think this PSG side was deliberately built to win the Champions League. So they looked at, first of all, I think they're playing progressive football. They're probably playing football where football is going, right? But I think PSG's main thing has been win in Europe, become relevant in Europe. Once you win one, the club culture change, all this kind of thing. You become a bit more of that kind of stallion that people want to go to. I think it's that, basically. But I've got to admit, Villa and Arsenal, very strong sides. Arsenal just absolutely whooped Real Madrid. And Real Madrid are second in La Liga. Everyone went, oh, well, it's not the best Real Madrid team. Stop making excuses and start just playing football, mate. Like,
I think it'd be bad for football if Arsenal knocked PSG and Barcelona out and won it.
You think it would be bad? Oh, as in for the image of football?
Yeah, because Arteta is a Pep disciple. I like Arsenal. I'm not anti-Arsenal. People who watch the show know I'm not anti-Arsenal. Luis Enrique,
technically a Pep disciple, technically.
Probably,
Barcelona.
Yeah. But he's not playing like it.
Yeah, I think is where football's going. I think do you know what I did? I thought it was interesting. You spoke about long shots. I'm always stunned that more teams, I know it's low XG and whatever, but all of PSG's finishes are world class. I wonder if that's
that Kvaratskhelia goal was magnificent, wasn't it? It was Ryan Giggs-esque at Villa Park.
even even the goal that he scored that was offside against Liverpool. What a finish! Like insanely good finish. I just think teams are told now reduce that, get outside the box, so get inside the box basically, and shoot from there because you'll be way more likely to score. I
think
find
there's
it
a
weird they keep
correlation
peppering
between that,
goals.
isn't there? I mean, PSG play in a league where teams probably sit back. Man City last season, I think, scored more goals from outside the box. It's probably something you work on when you're a very dominant side, is that teams are going to sit in. So it's probably, worthwhile spending time on it. But look, the Villa goal yesterday was brilliant as a team goal.
It was a great
But
goal.
the goal by Doué was just individualism.
But is that league quality? That's not. You can't say that is representative of Liga, can you? You can say that's representative of Doué. You can say it's representative of PSG, but you can't
I think it's
say
a mentality. It's a philosophy, isn't it? I don't think there are many teams that are allowed to do what PSG do in the Premier. I think Premier League teams play the percentage game. That's why they play out from the back. If you kick the ball to the halfway line, even if you've got Didier Drogba up front, Van Dijk might beat you to it. You've lost the ball. If you play out from the back, okay, you might lose the ball. We'll talk about that in training. But we started off with the ball, and that's the problem. It's like, if you get into your structures and you pass it around, you keep the ball. If you take someone on and they tackle you, you lose the ball. But if you take someone on and you go past them, you break the system. And that's the thing. It's very strategic in the Premier League at the moment, and I hope that it will happen. I've been on about this for a while. There will be an antidote. There will be a shift. We won't stay playing this style of football for ages, and that's why it's important that when these teams like PSG and Barcelona are another team with the likes of Rafinha and Yamal, they are another team that have individualism. If with those two teams, youth of today, well, we're not young. It captures the imagination. People want to see that. It's like when you used to turn a World Cup on and Brazil would turn up every 4 years and they might not win it, but you go, oh, I love that style of football. And the Premier League just needs an identity shift. The football has become a little, and look, maybe the style of football in the Premier League is really good, but it's been hanging around for too long.
I think referees, I get that. I think it needs an upgrade. I think it's going in that direction, though. I do think there are a few people. Like, when Arsenal signed Calafiori, I thought, okay, that's exciting. Man City are a little bit behind now. They probably want Florian Wirtz in the summer. That's exciting. Liverpool are going to change out for another striker. That's exciting. Like, all these things, Isak is exciting to watch. And if you put him in that Liverpool team or our Arsenal team, it makes that team more exciting. So, I don't think you're wrong. I think you're right about the stagnance of the Premier League. And the main thing that every week we talk about is the referee. And it's not as if it's like, I almost miss the days when I can just forgive a referee for a bad decision. It's more that, like, I don't mind if you're Uriah Rennie and you give, a bad decision on a foul. Fine. I'll take that over knowing that there is a group of nerds at Stockley Park going, well, do we give it or not? I don't know. Like, good process, lads. Yeah, good process. Come on.
Sound like Bruce Forsyth. He's back from the dead. It's Bruce Forsyth.
I'll give it you myself if the money's up there.
Not anymore. That's not Bruce Forsyth now. That was more like Dale Winton.
Michael Barrymore.
Supermarket Sweep. Oh, Michael Barrymore, yeah.
Les Dennis. Yeah. I actually think what we should do now is we should make referees should be influencers. Because influencers, and here's the thing, Mark, want to be loved, right?
Yeah.
And people who want to be loved have to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So their influencers would do a really good job. I think Chunks
look
should
at Clattenburg
be
now. He wants to be an influencer, and he's
exactly.
Yeah, I think very, very good points. Get your comments in below. Laws, before we go, I do want to talk to you about Liverpool and Salah and contracts.
Is that boring? Do you think that's boring?
Well,
that's boring, isn't it?
No, because
I don't mean the
twist
subject.
you're going to give on it is good. Because your twist is going to be: is it good for Liverpool that Salah is staying, or is it actually time to move on? Because it will be a drop off at some point, and also you have got to replace him at some point.
Why don't you tell me what you want me to say, and I'll make the argument for that? Because I was on a podcast the other day, and they said, I don't like this Laurence guy. He always panders to the presenter. He says whatever he wants him to say, and I thought, I actually might do that. So you tell me what argument you want me to make, and I'll make it. Because either way,
I'll make my argument then, and you can make an opposite one.
All right, go for it. Yeah, if you think you're so bloody good at this.
I think I'm okay. Well, I'm going to speak the truth then, which I always do. I think Salah staying at Liverpool is a massive positive on multiple levels, because I think Slot is just he's took over a Klopp side. He's not had a transfer window. This is his first one. it could go well, it could go bad, it could go average. I think if it, with Salah and Van Dijk there, it gives him some stability next year. They're proven winners. They're still at the top of their game. And, if you lose those and Trent, and then you're reliant on your transfer window to replace them, Arsenal are obviously going to be stronger next year. Pressure's going to be there. He undeservedly, if they don't start well and they're not in a title race, people will go, one season wonder, everything like that. So I think second season, I would really want Salah to be there. And on top of that, I still think he's the best player in the league. I know he's ended the season a bit, sluggish, but I still think he's the best player in the league. And so I think it's a big positive. I think they're better off keeping him than him going. That would be my case for the prosecution.
I believe you're actually the defence, because that would make me the prosecution.
Yeah, defence. Yes, I'm the defence. Yeah.
So I now have to make the opposite point. Is the game okay? Salah staying and Van Dijk broadly bad for the club. The culture at the club is still one of Jurgen Klopp, and that is why Liverpool have fallen away at this point in the season. Because again, the anxiety, the intensity, the application has all been in the shape and mold of Jurgen Klopp, and that's because the Liverpool players still remember him and have like the layover of that in this season. And I think Liverpool should have chosen to go young in Huijsen. They should have gone exciting with Frimpong and someone else out on that wing. And they should have lent into changing the leadership structure at Liverpool and put all their eggs into Trent Alexander-Arnold's basket. And they should have, and that is why both the legends should have gone whilst it was still good and we remember them well, rather than watching their decline.
You don't believe any of that?
No, but it
was a good argument until the Trent. You know what? Until the Trent one.
Until the Trent thing, it was good.
Yeah, this is almost a game. I actually, up until the Trent comment, I was like, he could be being serious.
Honestly, do you not think like we should do this every week, where you and I pick a subject. If you still want to
try and sell the case,
go on with me, because I know obviously you and I might be stagnant, or I don't want the Premier League to get boring. I want us to always be upgrading. You have to pick a subject. I have to pick a subject.
Yeah,
and we have to say the complete opposite. On top of that, I also think the club should not be going for players with really high wages, Mark. I think the players should be humble. It's that simple.
You're getting clipped up now by Liverpool fans going, I knew he was never a Liverpool fan.
I knew he hated FSG and he hates Liverpool. How is it? And I don't get, the same goes for you, right? You get clipped up as you love the owners, and you get clipped up as you hate the owners, and you get clipped up as you love the players, and you get clipped up as you hate the players. How's that possible?
I don't know. Some people have got too much time on their hands, but look, I think Salah in the Premier League as well for another year would be great. And I genuinely think that next season the transfer market will dictate it. I don't know what to say about Man City, and I'll leave it there because no one's interested anyway. But I don't include them next year. But I hope then, and I hope they're not in it next year. But that probably means something's got to happen in the next few weeks, which I don't want to wish on them really, but realistically, do the crime, do the time. I
think Pep might step down sooner than we think. That's my hot take, and I think it'll be Alonso that replaces him.
I've always said Pep's going in the summer. Always. I was with Ross, who the other day, and he was stunned when I said that. And I said, "But I think you might be right.
I think you might be right."
I said that you can't go into your final year. Nobody can go into their final year, and I think Man City thought you can if you're 10 points clear at the top. And then when it went wrong, they were like, you can't go into your final year like this. So they went, let's just do this deal that, it's another 2 years. It's great money. He's here forever. And then in the summer, we'll just go, we've had a chat. And it's a mutual, just any contracts, Mo Salah, not Mo Salah. Let's think of like Bruno Fernandes at Man United, massive new contract. In the summer, there could be a statement. There won't be, but what there could be where we've had a chat with Bruno. We love Bruno. He doesn't want to be here. We're sort of in agreement, and we're just going to part ways. Any contract can be, and I think it's a hot take, but I think that's going to happen. So I'm in agreement with you there. So
I agree, and I think it'll be Alonso that replaces him.
Is he not going Madrid? Don't know why he rejected you. Personally, you wanted him as your assistant.
I called him and said, "Listen, as you're the guy that I wish I looked like, and I don't." Can you come manage Liverpool at least just to make up for it? And he just hung up the phone. I would say, I think he could go. I think he's entertaining City. I would entertain City if I was Alonso. I would look at it and I'd go, okay, they're very compelling. They'll give me a rebuild. They can probably afford Florian Wirtz. There's a bunch of compelling stuff in there.
He'd be a good coach there. But
it'd be very good, and he would. I think he's a better in. It's better than him going to Manchester United. It's better than him going to Chelsea. It's better than him going to. It's Liverpool or City for me, and I would say City aren't a bad option. And I don't think that managing City necessarily stops you from managing Liverpool in the end.
I just thought he was going to Madrid. I've always thought he was going to Madrid.
Maybe he's also just keeping his options open, as you always should.
Who would you say for the league next year? I mean, I've said it to you a couple of weeks ago. I've said Arsenal, and I said it before they beat Real Madrid, which I think a lot of people would now say was a good take. But obviously, they've got to get a striker. They're linked with Zubimendi. They've got very good defense. I think Arsenal sort of almost has to be their year next year, so I'm going to go with Arsenal. But so many permutations and unknowns, I think, in relation
hard
to
see beyond Arsenal. Isn't it hard to see beyond Arsenal? Just because
they'll hate us for it. They'll be saying you're putting pressure on us, but is that not what the build is all about? A very impressive build by Arteta. Surely all roads lead to the Premier League. Maybe not lead to the Champions League in a few weeks.
I think it could. I also think if they win the Champions League, it would raise the stakes on winning the Premier League. But it might also it might get Arteta, it might reduce the pressure, I think, winning the Champions League, because it would mean big trophy. Okay, you've got something in the cabinet. You're a legend now. Don't worry about it. You won the first Champions League, blah, 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 blah.
First one ever.
Yeah, exactly. That means that next season they sort of go, well, we'll be in the race. Yeah, we'll be there, guys. Sure. I just don't think it's as intense if they win that. So yes, the pressure's on Arsenal to win the Champions League.
I'm team PSG really? I am team Barcelona. I feel like Barcelona have been neglected, but everyone knows Barcelona are brilliant this year and they're favourites to win it. So Barcelona PSG final would be an interesting one
in Munich as well. Yeah. I just still think Arsenal, Barcelona. Think of all their previous problems. They'd have beaten Real Madrid if they were to go through. I think that's big for me. I also think it's massive for the Premier League if Arteta, goes over there and just sticks it to him.
I don't want Arsenal to win it, obviously.
Who would you support? You support Barcelona if Arsenal get to the final?
I don't dislike Arsenal, and one Champions League isn't the end of the world. Chelsea won a Champions League. If it was Liverpool, Man City, I don't want them to win it, obviously. If it was Arsenal, I'm not that bothered. I wanted them to beat Real Madrid, and they can beat PSG and Barcelona. At the end of the day, it's not the end of the world if Arsenal win it. To me, it's not going to give me any sleepless nights.
Once you break the seal, though, do you know what I mean? Once you break the seal, then do 2 or 3 more come. I don't think 2 or 3 more, but I do think. I still think if they win one, there's a possibility. I don't think they'll go back to back, but I think once you've won one, it's a bit like Chelsea. It's like, well, we should win it again.
The Premier League should be winning more Champions League, considering we have had the best league for about a decade now.
Yeah, I agree with it.
We should have more, but I do agree with you that the intensity of the Premier League sometimes doesn't serve our clubs that well when we hit March and April, because most of the league is not as strong. France, Germany, they're not as strong. Italian league is, and we haven't had Italian winners for a long time, have we? Although Inter
obviously, but yeah, by you, but no one else.
No, I said they'd beat Bayern. That was another hot take by me.
That was a good take, actually. My only other take is, here we go. I think Manchester United will win the Champions League before they win the Premier League.
That could be any time.
Well, yeah,
that in 100 years.
It's 50 years. That could happen. No, but what I mean is,
it's probably easier to win.
I think, but they set the goals and they said, 2028, we'll be there. I think they'll be there in the Champions League. I don't think they'll be there in the Premier League. And I think they can only...
But it's only like saying Villa will win the Champions League before they win the Premier League, because I know they're probably going to get knocked out. But if they had performed a little bit better or been slightly bit better and they did knock PSG out and then Arsenal and they're in the final,
that's what I'm saying.
It's easier to win.
Well, and I think continental managers, blah, 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 you know what I'm saying? Blah, blah, blah. Rafa Benitez.
Do better, Premier League. Do better. That's the message.
We're all thinking it. And when we look you in the eye, Premier League, you can do better. You're capable from taking this B to an A.
I've said it, 20 years ago, we had the likes of Ginola, people like
Titi
Letizia,
Kamara,
a bit longer than that, Kocha,
Abel
individual
Xavier.
Brilliance. Goal of the month was brilliant. Get it back. I tell you what, I bet goal of the month's good in Paris.
Matt Holland.
Yeah, leave it there. Yeah, he didn't present Blue Peter, and he wasn't Spider-Man. He played in the midfield for Ipswich. Thanks for coming on, Loz.
Good reference. Thank you for having me, Mark. I love you.
No worries. Take care, everyone. Get your comments in. Lots to talk about. Smash a like, and we'll speak to you on the next one.
Shouldn't do that. That's annoying.